Next is a skill book revamp where you actually have to receive your HADVAC certification to get the skill boost for that. So one of the things they did talk about doing is that certain professions would have like predisposition for skills and all that. Okay, so the potatoes rotted. I think we were away for too long kind of thing. I shouldn't need seed bearing on any of these. I believe I got surplus on all the seeds. So it's time to quickly like just overwhelm ourselves with fruit and veggies. Yay, we are at farming 7 now. That's going to be 10 real soon. Let's see, Augusta says, I don't know, the changes kind of sound like a way to rebalance multiplayer at the expense of single player. They talked about that, but I don't think it'll be that bad. Because one of the things you run into with multiplayer versus single player is when you're dealing with multiplayer, there's a lot of competition for resources and all that, even when you are working together. And I don't believe that's nearly as much with single player. So I don't feel like it's nearly as bad. And they also talked about there's a lot of ways you'd be able to effectively shortcut doing stuff. So in other words, let's say like you're doing the thing where you can do leather working and then you put the metal padding on your armor and whatever to make yourself stronger. It sounds like you might just be able to find the resources you need to do the finished product. So with single player, you might be able to find sufficient resources to do that all by yourself. Versus multiplayer, maybe you just don't have, like there won't be enough resources to reasonably find that. Like because you are competing for resources kind of thing and there'll be limited supply. It's definitely a wait and see, of course. And Red Hawk Black Sheep says, as long as they're still interactive in the sandbox for players who alter this way, I'm cool with whatever they want to do. Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like, I've been very vocal that's like, I'm very... Like, I'm concerned about how NPCs could impact the gameplay. Like, just change the game's entire feel from the lone survivor to, you know, you're just another person out there. So I've been vocal about that a couple of times, but I do think it won't be that bad. Okay, so we've got our carrots, we've got our radishes, we've got our tomatoes. Let's see. Got our broccoli. Got our cabbage. Got our potato. Oh wait, the strawberries haven't grown yet. Grab our trowel. Yeah, Fox was saying, yeah, if a NPC climbed up my escape rope to shoot me, I'd probably pee my pants. Yeah, and I don't think it's bad to have those types of dangers. Like I said, for me when my place gets safe, that's when the game starts losing me. But I understand not everyone agrees, and that's cool. I still, like, my bigger fear is, like, right now, there's no such thing as a ranged zombie. So it allows for you to be slow, methodical, and deliberate in how you approach doing everything. But if suddenly you have people running around with pistols and revolvers, they have to actually, you know, stay behind cover kind of thing to try and sneak up on them so they don't shoot you or whatever. I'm like, now I'm not playing the same game. I'm playing a completely different game than the one I started with. So I have reservations. That said, it's probably fine. Because I imagine something like the NPCs around town to be something you can just like tick a box and they're gone. Or you can like tick off hostile NPCs or whatever. I mean, even if the NPCs were all friendly and gave quests kind of thing, I'm still not sure I would still have reservations, because again, if the NPCs come the more efficient way of gaining certain resources in the world, now you're going to do that. And it still feels very different than the lone survivor vibe we have right now. Like, to me, that closer aligns with State of Decay, which is, you look at the number of quote-unquote survivors in there, and it's like, man, you got your own little bustling town here, there's so many people surviving. Versus Project Zomboid very much feels like you are alone in this world. Just trying to survive. You know, as the rest of the world just basically crumbles around you. I hadn't planned to have a day off to just farm and do that stuff, but everything was ready. And like the potatoes, we left in too long and they rotted. Which I always find interesting, how the potatoes, when you don't leave them growing too long, are ridiculously durable against the environment. But if you leave them in the earth for like one extra day, you're like, nope, gone. Crap, ruined. Elgo says, the only thing I'd be interested in having NPCs do is invite them into my base to do the tedium like smithing and mining and adding, like, you know, what I can do for the fun part for like mining. Yeah, so like take stuff like, hey, I just want you to rip all these clothes on these zombies. If you just follow me and just shred all these clothes for me, that'd be great. Lulu says, I mean, it's this is how you died, not this is how you made a thriving community. Agreed. Other greater days. I think it'd be fun if you had to use a currency to buy things from them, but one of them, you know, but one of the random junk items is set as a currency each for different NPC, so it'd become a mad quest to find a, you know, a bunch of ton of combs or something. Yeah. In early versions of PC, there was a Gigamart in the first map. In the Gigamart was a crazy NPC with a shotgun who would shoot you dead if you came in his line of sight. You could take him out, but fighting would lure all the zombies. Gotcha. This is how I died while trying to make a thriving community. Let's see. This always just felt like a lazy out for programmers who had never planned for the endgame, to be honest. Yeah. But I mean, that's something you can argue with any roguelite or roguelike. You know, it's like the point isn't to get to quote-unquote endgame. The point is to you play the game and ultimately you're expected to die. Like, once you get to the endgame, you're done. Like, if you play games like Rogue Legacy, it is a huge amount of fun as you're slowly climbing and progressing and all that, but the moment you finish, then the game is just done. There's nothing left for you. That said, I do want to see more endgame. It's just, for me, the question is, how do you do a lot of endgame in this game, though? Yeah, and that's fair, Elgos. So, Elgos is saying, that is one of my criticisms of rogue whatevers, actually, that they often feel like they artificially have inflated difficulty to make up for their lack of content. Yeah, I can see that argument. I personally like really enjoy roguelikes and roguelikes. But yeah, there's definitely those that's like, oh, I feel like this wasn't fully fleshed or whatever. I have not played Dead Cells. I have Dead Cells with the intent of playing at some point. It's just not a thing that's happened quite yet. You can make this whole back row cabbages. But yeah. The thing I like about roguelikes and roguelite is that you end up... Oh, I still had broccoli to plant. Yeah, I should plant those too. Gotcha. I'd definitely play without the Twitch integration first, learn the game before unleashing the masses that is Twitch on me. But yeah. I mean, for me, I like games with progression. And ultimately, no matter what game you have that has progression, there has to be some kind of limit, whether it's an effective or a hard limit. So like you have some games that's like you hit level 60 and your game is done. You fully progressed your character. There's no more progression to be had. Then you have the games that have like a soft limit. Or actually, I can even say there's games where you just don't have a limit. You can just keep endlessly leveling. And they do hit a point where it's like, well, leveling stops mattering. Or they'll do the crap where as you level, the monsters level with you. And a lot of times that can feel really terrible. Because you run into like the Borderlands effect where it's like, as you're leveling, it feels like you're becoming less effective at the monsters because of how bullet spongy they're getting. So, you gain your 2% more damage, but then the enemies gained like 10% more life. You're like, but I'm going slower now. Like, I would genuinely be in a better position if I hadn't leveled. Oh yeah, Division's another with that same problem. That progression kinda hurts your approach. But then you also have the counter thing of where you don't have the enemies get any harder, and it's just as you play the game it gets easier and easier, and that can get very boring real fast. Because like this is a fun game that's difficult, and then you're just deleting all the enemies going, oh, my progression has ruined the game. Okay. Yeah, no, I got you, Elgo, so that you can have it so the game has like this zone is a higher tier set of enemies, and most of those games do that. Like the Division actually does have that, where there are areas that in the early leveling part of the game, yeah, like this is the level 10 area, this level 20 area, this level 30 area, and I don't remember what the caps are for stuff. And then you get to the point where it's like, okay, you've hit the ceiling, and then it's like, okay, well, they also want to keep it interesting, so there's a reason to go back to those old areas, so those enemies will level up with you in those old areas, with some variance. But that's for the people who want to play those games, because it is kind of lame when you buy a game and you go, okay, well, I've finished the game and now it's just done. Like I got 20 hours into it and now it's over. Oh, okay. And you can, blame the player for rushing the game and all that, which is usually a very fair criticism. But I do feel there is a place for games that's like, yeah, you just keep playing. And just keep being more of it. That has an infinite progression. And that the ways you can usually approach that is either A, you do like the roguelike, roguelite, is one way of approaching that problem. Don't waste the water bottle, please. But actually, what we're even going to do is put these water bottles over here in the corner. Why can I not put you on the ground? Are you too good for the ground water bottle? Is that what you're trying to tell me? Strictly no ground water bottle? Oh, right, it's a favorite. So it's trying to prevent me from throwing away my favorite. But yeah. But I also feel like there's the value in having both types of games. The ones where it's like, you finish it, you put a little bow on it, the game's done, excellent. And then there's also those games like, no, seriously, you play this game forever. But then roguelites and roguelikes, usually the way they do that is they make the game so dying is a normal part of the game, so that you kind of repeat your progression. And then the roguelites, you'll have an outside progression in addition to that. So you are progressing the game. But then, like RPGs, they always have to tackle the, okay, does the game keep getting easier as we go along, or does it get harder as we go along once you pass whatever the predefined curve is? And I don't believe it's a one-solution problem either. Like, I believe there's a place for a bunch of different strategies that different people enjoy the different strategies, and that's good. Make games for everyone. Like, that's the things I appreciate of Project Zomboid. Like, I like setting up the base and building the things and doing all that. But you definitely hit the point where you're like, well, the base is built. What now? I could build a second base, sure. But that feels like I'm just doing it because, not because there's a need or a want or a desire. It's just like, oh yeah, I just need a thing to do. And like, if I keep respawns on, I can keep killing zombies, but it's like after a certain point, like, but what's the point? Like, they're just gonna be back tomorrow. Versus no respawns, like, yeah, I'm wiping out the map. They're all gonna go away. That said, I do feel like we're the enemies level as you level kind of thing. Almost every time I've seen that mechanic, it's not been good. Oh yeah, I'll go. So once I've wiped out the map, you know, it is over. Like that very much, that's the run is done. There's nothing left. I fully agree. But we're talking, that is a really ambitious goal that we're doing. We're going to be doing this for a very long time, assuming I don't die. Where are you going? Where are you filling that water up on? You're not filling up here. I clicked up here. You're filling the water up through the floor. But yeah. Alright, you have yourself a good shower. Nah, but with the Division, like, I definitely remember getting to endgame, having, like, the machine gun and going up to a single individual and just emptying 2 full magazines of a machine gun into them. And it's like you've only removed their armor, and you're kind of going, what is this? Like, there is no such thing as armor that you can pour an entire machine gun's magazine into, and the thing wearing said armor is still moving around in any meaningful capacity. In Borderlands is the same thing, where it's, you almost get to the point that you want to use weapons that have crowd controlling effects, like when you set an NPC on fire and they get distracted and they stop shooting quite as much, or like you freeze them or that kind of thing, because they're such bullet sponges, you know. It's the only way to give yourself any breathing room. I also think that's one of the things that works in favor for Project Zomboid. While the zombies do get easier as you level up, because you're always just one hit away from death in the game, it still never feels like you get so overpowered that it's unmanageable or something. Like, you get better at fighting, just the danger is always ever present. Oh, we didn't quite gain enough skill point. I was actually wondering, it's like, oh, are we ready to read our next, or actually our final farming book? But no, we didn't quite get that much. Yeah, Zidian. No, Rockbeard. Plants do not care whether it's tainted or fresh. They're just like, it's water. It's cool. Like, I usually like to swap out my plants in a day it's raining because then I could just neglect watering them at all, but waiting for that was probably going to be a non-starter. And using up all these strawberries because they're going to go bad any time now. The downside of strawberries are actually pretty terrible for getting any meaningful hunger dealt with out of them. But they're good for happiness. Probably shouldn't even be growing that many strawberries. Zane says, oh my god, my first machete on month 3. Ow. It's pretty late to get a machete. Foxman says, man, the little frog you can find foraging is super cute. I want to keep in a tank and not eat its legs. That'd be neat if you could, like, keep pets, even if they were completely meaningless. Gotcha, it's lower zombie pop, but, you know, like, you got tired of doing insane pop. But damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. No, most of the animals you catch will show up as alive. Oh, actually I made a potato salad? That's fine, whatever. Just killing some time till sleepy time. Working on our survival skills that I keep neglecting, so you know, that's a thing. Just basically getting some fish already ready in advance that I can go ahead and put in one of these freezers. So I need to gain weight again. I just already have fish stashed away. Yeah, those are still going slowly. That's fine. Ooh, that's so close. Only 37 more XP, and then we level up Nimble again. Yeah, I need to plant less strawberries. As they have strawberries die from disease and all that, I'm going to swap them out for other stuff. Probably like cabbage or potatoes.